Revenge films.
I had divorced my husband with an intractable disease. I didn't want to take care of him, and I do not regret leaving him one bit. I live with him and 2 children, and my husband would give us $5,000. He would make me ask for money with hands on the ground every week on Mondays, and that was how my week starts. He would not eat anything from the previous day, so I would need to make fresh food for him every day and make living possible in no more than $20,000. This was obviously not possible, so I had to use up all of my savings in 5 years. As for my own well-being, I was allowed to go get a haircut twice every year to the same salon that my husband chose. We live in an apartment owned by his company, and because he didn't want others to think we were poor, he wouldn't let me work on my own. Other than that, he didn't allow our children to go anywhere else but the nearby park. He would come with me to the market too, just to watch and see if I don't buy anything he doesn't need. If I needed to go buy something, I would need to get his permission to leave. If I bought anything from a vending machine, I needed to tell him. He checked what was inside my wallet too, and once he even said,
"I don't trust you using the vending machine. You can only spend in places that give out receipts, okay?"
Back then, abusive power was not a concept that was well known, so I didn't know I was a victim of it. The moment I realized this was when I began to take my children to kindergarten and started to talk to the other moms. My husband didn't like me being able to communicate with other people, but because he didn't want his reputation to go down, he kept acting like a nice person. As I began to talk to the other moms, I realized that I was a completely different housewife than the rest. Around that time, my husband began to pick on me and call me names like,
"Ugly bastard!"
and,
"Be like that other mom!"
and,
"Wow, I wish I had a wife like that one over there. You were the wrong person to marry. Why did I ever marry you? I made a huge mistake."
and something snapped. The reason the other moms are pretty is because they're actually handed a decent amount of money to buy clothes, makeup, and go to the salons, and they do it all on their own. You're the one who won't let me, and all the other husbands let their wives do them too. I'm the ugly one. You're the one to blame. I finally fought back. He was startled for a second, but his face turned bright red, and he threw a punch at me from the side. He knocked me down, and I fell to the ground. In front of the kids, too. It hurt like crazy, and I felt really dizzy, but something snapped inside of me. Everything was fast from there on. He left angrily, and I called my parents, who I haven't talked to in 2 years. My husband told my mother that I was saying bad things about her and separated us, so I couldn't contact my family at all. I took a lot of time and effort to tell her everything that had happened until then, and while my mother listened to me quietly, we ended up crying. She said she was sorry for leaving me in such a terrible environment all this time, and suddenly said, "He'll get angry at you if you tell him right now. You'll have to wait until the kids get into winter break." After this day, I made an effort to communicate with my mom whenever my husband was not around. She even sent me money in a way that my husband would not notice, too. I couldn't use the money in front of him because he would find out, and our plan would be ruined. But I was looking forward to living again because I knew I was going to be free soon. I was sending my stuff to my house little by little, when suddenly, my husband fell sick and was sent to the hospital. He would always start panicking with just a fever, saying he was ill, and I thought it was the same this time around too. But the results said he had an intractable disease. Even after hearing this news, I didn't care about him, but cared about the kids. I would stare coldly at his back while he waddled into his room alone. At this stage, he was so caught up with his disease that he had no time to abuse me, so I prepped quickly. Eventually, I handed him the divorce papers, and he said,
"You're going to throw me away?"
"I kept up with you for a very, very long time. But everything ended when you knocked me down. I don't care about your disease. We were about to leave with or without that happening." As he listened, he apologized, but I didn't budge. I made him sign the papers, and he agreed to not pay child support, but to never show up in front of me or the kids ever again. I had no regrets. I learned later that he grew up watching his mother switch through multiple men because they were weak. and thought he needed to be a strong man. But I told him, I kind of get that, but that doesn't excuse you from abusing me mentally and economically. I'll never forgive you. And he just grumbled. But for some reason, he went on to say,
I'll change, I swear! I'll change so I can greet you guys with a different attitude!
I felt shivers down my spine. I was afraid he was going to come to our house. So right after I divorced him, I changed my contact number and we moved along with my mother. Then, I began to date someone new at the new location. He told me,
I can't make kids, so I want to become your kid's father.
So I decided to marry him. This was the first time I felt joy from a marriage. He let me manage all of his earnings, and I was able to balance out the costs of living from all of his earnings. He didn't say anything bad about my food, and always said everything tasted great, and I really enjoyed that. My current hobby is to balance our money and save up for our children as well as for future vacations. I couldn't believe saving money could be this much fun, and I'm glad I remarried. A few years passed, and my mother received a call from my ex-husband.
You guys moved? Are my wife and kids okay? Well,
He blabbed on and on, but she told him I got remarried, and he was shocked. When I got divorced, she apparently had a little lump of worry left against my ex-husband, and so she let it out right there.
Do you think you have the qualifications to worry about my daughter and her kids? It's your fault they weren't able to live normal lives. Don't you ever call us, ever again. She's living a perfectly normal and great life now. Goodbye.
She said as she hung up, and never heard from him again. It's important for people to look back and contemplate what they did wrong. I'm glad that he was able to reflect on his actions, but that doesn't mean I'll get back with him. He abused me for too long, and he even physically attacked me. Our relationship ended there, and there was nothing he could do to fix that. He was always worried about his outer reputation and acted like a normal person. But my current husband cried at my children's school play. I feel pride in my current husband. I believe everyone has a second chance, and I wanted to take that second chance with my new husband. I want to be happier than I was before.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.